Hello, everyone. I'm your storyteller for today. I'll be sharing a story that might make you think twice before swiping right. This tale is about dating apps, trust, and the terrifying unknown lurking behind a screen. Maybe you've experienced something similar, or hope you never do. But before we dive in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments where you're from and what time you're watching. Now, lay back comfortably, relax, and let's begin. Story 1. Emma Reed had always loved new beginnings. At 28, she was finally living her dream in New York City. As a freelance interior designer, her days were filled with visiting chic apartments and crafting unique living spaces. But nights were different, lonely even. It had been a year since she ended a 5-year relationship. While her career thrived, her personal life felt stagnant. Her best friend, Clara, suggested she try a dating app to put herself out there. Reluctantly, Emma downloaded Swipe True. Scrolling through endless profiles became part of her nightly routine. Most were uninspiring until she saw Jake Matthews. His profile was simple: a 31-year-old architect with a love for hiking, dogs, and jazz music. His photos were a mix of candid moments and stunning landscapes. Too good to be true, Emma thought, but curiosity won. She swiped right. Minutes later, a notification appeared. "It's a match." Jake was quick to message, "Hey Emma, love your smile. Tell me, what's your favorite hidden spot in the city?" His conversational charm was disarming. Over the next week, their chats grew from light banter to deep discussions about life, dreams, and fears. Emma couldn't believe her luck. Jake seemed perfect, almost too perfect. But Clara reassured her. "Stop overthinking. People like Jake do exist," she said. Their first date was set for Saturday at the Velvet Cup, a cozy cafe in Lower Manhattan. Emma spent hours debating what to wear. She finally settled on a casual white blouse and jeans. When Jake walked in, her breath caught. He was even more attractive in person, tall, well-dressed, with a magnetic smile. They spent hours talking. "I've never met someone so easy to connect with," Jake said, his blue eyes locking onto hers. For Emma, the date felt surreal, but as she walked home that night, she couldn't shake an inexplicable unease. 2 days after their date, Emma received a message from an unknown number. "You look stunning tonight." Her heart sank. She hadn't gone out that evening. When she asked Jake about it, he laughed. "Probably a wrong number," he said. "Ignore it." But the messages continued. They grew stranger. "Your living room looks cozy. Why don't you ever close your curtains?" Emma started double-checking her locks. Clara suggested she block the number. Emma did, but unease lingered. Then one night, while scrolling through Jake's Instagram, she noticed something odd. His photos were flawless, but none featured tags or comments from friends or family. A reverse image search revealed a shocking truth. Many of the pictures weren't his. Emma confronted Jake during their next date. "Are those really your photos?" she asked. He hesitated. "Not all of them. I wasn't comfortable using my real ones at first, but everything else about me is real." Though the explanation felt off, Emma wanted to believe him. But things escalated when she came home one evening to find her front door ajar. Inside, nothing appeared stolen, but a photo frame on her desk was turned face down. The messages resumed, this time more threatening. "You can't run from me, Emma." She reported the incidents to the police, but without clear evidence, they couldn't do much. One night, as she was about to sleep, Emma noticed a shadow outside her window. Her apartment was on the 3rd floor. She froze, heart pounding, until the shadow disappeared. Emma decided to cut all ties with Jake. She deleted the app and changed her number, but it didn't stop him. One evening, while returning from Clara's apartment, she felt someone following her. Her pulse raced as she quickened her pace. Suddenly, Jake stepped out from the shadows. "Emma, wait. You've misunderstood everything," he said, his voice pleading, but his expression betrayed him. His eyes held a wild intensity. Emma ran, her breath shallow, until she spotted a police patrol car. She flagged it down and Jake disappeared into the night. The officers escorted her home, promising to increase patrols in her area, but the damage was done. Emma moved out of the city weeks later. The experience left her shaken, but determined to rebuild her life. She never heard from Jake again. But every so often, she would catch a glimpse of a man with piercing blue eyes in a crowd. Her heart would race, only to realize it wasn't him, or so she hoped. Dating apps can be thrilling, but they come with risks. Always trust your instincts and prioritize safety. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, not every match is meant to be. Story 2. Lucy Harding stared at the dimly lit screen of her phone, her thumb hovering over the app icon that promised connection in a place where she had none. The 32-year-old English teacher had moved to the quiet village of Oakmere 6 months earlier. Surrounded by rolling hills and an endless stretch of foggy moors, it was a beautiful but lonely retreat. She had left London to escape the noise and heartache of a failed engagement, but solitude came with its own weight, and the endless silence of her evenings felt heavier with each passing day. When her friend Clara visited, she insisted Lucy download Find Your Flame. "It's not just for love," Clara said with a smirk. "You can make friends too, plus it's fun." Lucy wasn't convinced, but loneliness eventually won. One evening, she found herself swiping through profiles. Most were unremarkable, but then she saw him, Ethan Blake. His profile picture showed a man with sharp features, dark hair, and piercing green eyes. He was standing in front of a grand old manor. His bio read, "A lover of history, mystery, and quiet nights by the fire. Let's uncover stories together." Something about him felt magnetic. Lucy hesitated, then swiped right. A moment later, a notification appeared. "It's a match." Ethan messaged her immediately. "Hi, Lucy. What's a history-loving teacher doing in a place like Oakmere?" His questions were thoughtful, his humor dry but endearing. They chatted about books, ghost stories, and life in the countryside. Ethan's knowledge of the area was uncanny. He spoke of forgotten landmarks and local legends that Lucy had never heard of. After a week of chatting, he suggested they meet. "There's a great little restaurant called the Grey Lantern," he wrote, "quiet, cozy, and perfect for conversation." Lucy hesitated but agreed. The night of their date, Lucy arrived early. The Grey Lantern was an old inn-turned restaurant, its timber beams and dim lanterns as exuding an otherworldly charm. Ethan arrived shortly after. He looked just as his picture promised, but there was something more, an almost ethereal presence that made him impossible to ignore. As they dined, Ethan regaled her with tales of Oakmere's past. He spoke of unsolved disappearances and whispered legends of wandering spirits. "Have you ever felt like you're being watched?" he asked suddenly. Lucy froze, unsure how to answer. "No. Should I?" Ethan smiled faintly but didn't respond. That night, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Ethan had been charming, but his stories lingered in her mind like an unsettling dream. The next morning, Lucy woke to find a bouquet of wildflowers on her doorstep. The note read, "Last night was wonderful. Can't wait to see you again. E." She hadn't told Ethan where she lived. Lucy dismissed it as a lucky guess. Oakmere wasn't large. Still, unease crept in when her phone buzzed late that night. It was a text from an unknown number. "Your light is still on." She looked out her window but saw nothing. The message had no name, but she knew it had to be Ethan. As days passed, Lucy became increasingly disturbed. Ethan's messages grew more cryptic, often referencing things she hadn't shared. When she asked him about it, he deflected with jokes or changed the subject. One afternoon, while exploring the local library, Lucy stumbled upon a book about Oakmere's history. Inside was a photograph of a man standing in front of the same manor from Ethan's profile picture. The caption read, "Ethan Blake, 1902. Her stomach churned. She flipped through the pages and found more. Ethan's name appeared in connection to a series of tragedies that plagued the village over the years. Lucy hurried home, her mind racing. She decided to confront Ethan. Ethan agreed to meet her that evening at the Grey Lantern. When Lucy arrived, the restaurant was nearly empty. Ethan was waiting at their usual table, a calm smile on his face. "Ethan," Lucy began, her voice trembling. "Who are you, really?" Ethan's expression shifted, his calm exterior cracking. "I hoped you wouldn't dig too deep." "What do you mean?" Lucy demanded. Ethan leaned forward, his voice low. "I've been here for a long time, longer than you can imagine. I don't belong to this time, Lucy." Lucy's heart raced. "You're not alive, are you?" Ethan's eyes softened. "Not in the way you think. I'm tied to this place, to its history. I needed someone like you to help me break free." Before Lucy could respond, the room grew icy. The lanterns flickered, and shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. "It's them," Ethan whispered. "They don't want me to leave." Suddenly, a chilling scream pierced the air. The shadows coalesced into monstrous forms clawing toward Lucy. Ethan stood, his figure glowing faintly. "Run, Lucy!" he shouted. Lucy darted out of the restaurant, the shadows chasing her through the foggy streets. She could hear Ethan's voice behind her, urging her forward. She reached the village church, its bell tolling ominously. The shadows recoiled as she entered. Ethan appeared beside her, his form faint and flickering. "There's a way to end this," he said. "You must destroy the book." Lucy nodded and ran to her car. She retrieved the book from the library and returned to the church. As the shadows closed in, she threw the book into the flames of a candlelit brazier. A deafening roar echoed through the church as the shadows dissolved into nothingness. Ethan gave her a sad smile. "Thank you, Lucy. I'm free now," he said before fading away. Lucy moved away from Oakmere soon after. She couldn't bear the memories of what happened. Though she tried to forget, she often felt a faint presence, as if Ethan was still watching over her, and she never opened a dating app again. Story 3. Rachel Thomas sat by the window of her small apartment, watching the rain streak down the glass. Her new home in Fairhaven, a quiet coastal town, was picturesque but isolating. She had moved here 3 months ago, seeking a fresh start after a messy breakup. At 29, Rachel was a freelance photographer, passionate about capturing fleeting moments of beauty, but her career was a lonely one. Most days, her only company was the hum of her camera and the occasional wave from a passerby. Clara, her best friend from the city, had urged her to try online dating. "It's not like you're meeting anyone in Fairhaven," Clara teased. "Just give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you'll have a funny story." That's how Rachel found herself scrolling through Connectus, a popular dating app. After several disappointing swipes, she stopped at one profile. Aaron Miller, 33, outdoor enthusiast with a charming smile and piercing blue eyes. His bio was simple: looking for someone to share the small joys in life, sunsets, hiking trails, and good coffee. Rachel hesitated. Something about him seemed different. She swiped right. A moment later, her phone buzzed. "It's a match." Aaron messaged her that evening. "Hi, Rachel. Do you always smile that beautifully, or is it just for your profile picture?" Rachel couldn't help but laugh. Over the next few days, their conversations flowed effortlessly. Aaron shared stories about growing up in a small town, his love for nature, and his dream of opening a cafe one day. A week later, he asked her out. "There's a park near the pier with the best sunset views. How about we meet there?" On the day of their date, Rachel chose a soft lavender sweater and jeans. She arrived early, nerves buzzing in her chest. When Aaron approached, he looked even better in person, tall with sandy hair and a confident stride. They walked through the park, sharing stories and laughter. Aaron's charm was undeniable, but Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something about him felt too polished, too perfect. Over the next few weeks, Rachel and Aaron spent more time together. They explored Fairhaven, from its rocky beaches to its cozy coffee shops, but small inconsistencies began to surface. Aaron often avoided questions about his family, brushing them off with vague answers. When Rachel asked where he had lived before moving to Fairhaven, he paused before saying, "A few places here and there." One evening, while scrolling through Aaron's photos on the app, Rachel noticed something odd. In one picture, Aaron stood in front of a cabin with a sign that read Lakeview Lodge. The same cabin appeared in another photo, but the background details were slightly different. Curious, Rachel reverse searched the image and discovered it wasn't unique to Aaron. It was a stock photo, one used by dozens of people. Her heart sank. Who was Aaron really? Rachel decided to dig deeper. She visited the Fairhaven Library, hoping to find any clues about Aaron's past. While flipping through old newspapers, a headline caught her eye: "Mysterious disappearances linked to local man." The article was dated 2013 and mentioned a man named Elliot Mason, a former Fairhaven resident who had vanished after being connected to 2 missing women. The grainy photo accompanying the article made Rachel's blood run cold. The man in the picture looked exactly like Aaron. Rachel couldn't believe it. Could Aaron be Elliot? She confronted him that evening, her hands trembling as she held up the article. "Who are you, Aaron? Or should I call you Elliot?" Aaron's face darkened. "You've been snooping," he said, his voice low and cold. Rachel stepped back. "I deserve to know the truth." He smirked, his calm demeanor unraveling. "The truth? You wouldn't understand." Rachel's heart raced as she realized the danger she was in. Aaron, if that was even his real name, was not who he claimed to be. That night, Rachel locked her doors and windows, but sleep eluded her. Around midnight, a faint knock echoed through her apartment. She froze. "Who's there?" No answer. The knocking grew louder, more insistent. Then silence. Rachel peeked through the peephole, but no one was there. As she turned away, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Aaron. "I hate being ignored." Panic set in. She called Clara, who urged her to contact the police. When the officers arrived, they found no signs of forced entry, but Rachel knew Aaron was watching. The following evening, Rachel received another text. "Meet me at the park. Let's talk, or you'll regret it." Determined to end this nightmare, Rachel agreed, but brought a hidden recording device with her. She arrived at the park as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the path. Aaron was waiting, his expression unreadable. "You've made this difficult, Rachel," he said. "What do you want from me?" she demanded. Aaron's mask of charm crumbled. "You remind me of someone who thought they could escape me." Before Rachel could react, Aaron lunged at her. She screamed, her instincts taking over as she fought to break free. Suddenly, headlights flooded the park. Clara had called the police. Aaron tried to flee but was tackled by the officers. As they dragged him away, Rachel felt a wave of relief, but also deep unease. Aaron, whose real name was indeed Elliot Mason, was linked to multiple disappearances. Rachel testified against him, ensuring he would never harm anyone again. But even as she moved on, Rachel couldn't escape the memories. Every creak in the night, every shadow passing her window reminded her of Aaron's haunting presence. She deleted her dating apps, vowing never to trust so easily again. And yet sometimes she wondered, had she truly escaped him? Or was he still watching, waiting for another chance?